At Thanksgiving dinner, my sister got up from her seat and announced with a fake smile, "We took a vote. You're not family anymore." The whole table erupted in cheers. I just chuckled under my breath and said, "Well, I guess you won't be needing this then," as I slid a folder onto the table. As soon as she flipped it open, she started shrieking like someone had stabbed her. Before we even got to carving the turkey, Jessica stood up, flashing that smug, rehearsed grin she always wore, and said there was something important we needed to address. The whole room fell silent. You could see forks frozen halfway to mouths. My stomach twisted into a knot because I knew that voice all too well. It was the same one she used when she got me grounded back when I was 14 for a party I never even attended. She went on, saying, "We had a family vote," looking around like some beauty queen about to get a crown. "And we've all decided you're not one of us anymore." Dead silence followed, and then the clapping started. My cousin Megan clapped like she was front row at a concert. Uncle Scott lifted his wine glass in a toast. Even my own mother chuckled and said, "Well, someone had to say it." I just sat there, stuck in place, staring at my plate. My stuffing had gone cold, but inside, I was burning. My dad didn't even lift his eyes to me. He just sipped his beer and grumbled, "It's probably for the best." I pushed my chair back slowly and said, "Wow, you guys actually practice this?" Jessica's grin got even wider. "You've been toxic for years. We're just finally being honest." My mother chimed in too, casually reaching for the cranberry sauce like she was commenting on the weather. "It's unanimous." I looked around the table. Nobody spoke up for me. Not one word. "Good," I said quietly. I reached into my bag, pulling out a thick folder and setting it down right in the middle of the table with a heavy thud that cut through all the giggling. Jessica narrowed her eyes. "What's that?" I leaned back in my chair, arms folded, and said, "Why don't you take a look?" She grabbed it, yanked it open, already wearing that smug little smirk she always had when she thought she'd won. But after flipping the first page, that smirk dropped clean off her face. She went pale, her eyes darting over page after page, getting more frantic. And then she screamed. Not just any scream, a full-on, blood-curdling, horror movie kind of scream. She shot up so fast her chair crashed over, slamming the folder shut like it had burned her. "You monster," she shouted, her voice shaking. "You sick, twisted freak." Everyone gasped, the sound bouncing off the walls. Her husband Trevor snatched the folder from her, flipped it open, and his jaw nearly hit the floor. He stared at me, stunned. "Is this real?" he asked. I nodded once. "Every word, every receipt, every screenshot. It's all real," I said. The table went so quiet you could hear a fork clatter somewhere back in the kitchen. My mom opened her mouth like she was about to say something, then closed it again, looking like a fish gasping for breath. "You all were so sure I'd never fight back," I said, slowly standing up. "So sure I'd stay the quiet one. The doormat. The walking wallet. Well, guess what?" I leaned in a little, locking eyes with Jessica. "Your little show? It's over. You're probably wondering what was in that folder. I'll get there. But first, you need to understand how we ended up here." Jessica didn't just wake up one morning and decide to cut me out. No, that decision was built little by little, one snide comment at a time, one betrayal after another. I was never the favorite, not even close. Jessica was the golden child, good grades, big smile, could charm a room like nobody's business. She could lie straight to your face and somehow make you thank her for it. Me? I kept to myself, stayed quiet, didn't crave attention, and they hated that. They took it as weakness. I moved out at 19, paid my own way through college, worked 2 jobs, never asked them for a dime. Meanwhile, Jessica bounced through 2 different majors, found herself on a trip to Europe, and eventually married Trevor, who's basically just a walking LinkedIn profile in a blazer. When they got married, I paid for half the wedding. My parents couldn't afford it, but somehow they still managed to take a 2-week cruise afterward. I never complained. I never did. Even when they joked about me being the family accountant, I kept showing up, covering Dad's dental surgery bills, sending cash when Mom said the heating bill was overdue, even pitching in for Megan's tuition when her scholarship fell through. They always said thanks, but it was in that tone, the one that really meant, well, of course you'd help. What else do you have going on? And maybe that was the real issue. See, I'm single. No spouse, no kids, no drama, just me, my work, and my dog. In their eyes, that meant I had nothing better to do than bail them out every time they stumbled. Jessica especially treated me like her personal safety net. When Trevor lost his job, she came to me first, just needed a small loan. When her car broke down, she came to me. When her kid needed therapy and insurance wouldn't cover it. Yeah, guess who got that call too? And like a fool, I always helped. Always. Told myself it was because we were family. But what started as helping slowly turned into obligation, then expectation, and eventually into full-on demands. It all started small. Dinner was full of those sly, cutting jokes. Like when I showed up with a bottle of wine and someone quipped, "Oh, must be nice being able to splurge on the good stuff." Then there was, "Of course you're early, you've got no kids to slow you down." Someone even muttered, "Man, I wish I could work late every night just to dodge my husband." But it didn't stop there, it got a whole lot nastier. They threw out stuff like, "You're so cold, no wonder you're still single," and "You don't even know what real stress looks like." Then there was, "You don't live a real life. You're just bitter 'cause nobody needs you." Only thing is, they did need me more than they liked to admit. Quietly, behind closed doors, and especially when it came to money. Then I got a text from Jessica. "Hey, can you co-sign for a small business loan? Trevor and I want to open a wellness cafe." I told her no. She shot back, "Wow? Seriously?" And that was the last I heard from her. It's been 3 months since then. Since that day, it's been like I vanished. Mom stopped picking up my calls. Dad would barely reply to my texts, usually just one word. I wasn't even invited to the last family dinner. Jessica? She blocked me on social media right after posting a story about cutting toxic people out of her life. But I didn't sit around feeling sorry for myself. Nope, I got busy. I started digging through my files, real receipts, not just memories. See, I'm the kind of guy who keeps records. Bank transfers, emails, screenshots with dates. I'm not stupid. And over just the past 5 years, I had shelled out more than $78,000 to my family. Yeah, $78,000. $8,000 went to Trevor's rehab. $2,300 for Jessica's so-called emergency dental work, which I later found out was just her getting veneers. $1,500 for my dad's back surgery. $12,000 to wipe out my mom's credit card debt. $6,000 to help Megan with her college move-in expenses. $4,500 for a so-called family emergency that turned out to be a vacation. Not once did anyone even mention paying me back. They just kept taking. And when I finally stopped handing out cash like an ATM, somehow I became the bad guy. So I put it all together. Every email asking for help, every text begging for money, screenshots of Jessica badmouthing me to her friends, calling me manipulative just 'cause I said no to her loan. I made a full timeline of every major payment I had made in the past 5 years. And just to top it off, I included copies of their Facebook and Instagram posts where they mocked me behind my back. I even had screenshots of Jessica calling me a cash cow with no spine in a private thread she thought I couldn't see. So when she opened that folder, that's what she found. That's what made her scream. Because it wasn't just a list, it was a total breakdown, fact by fact, line by line, page after page. And as they all sat there, it finally hit them what they'd done. Mom looked like she might pass out. Trevor stared at the line showing $4,200 I'd given Jessica, which she'd blown at a hotel in Santa Monica with someone named Kayla. All he said was, "What is this?" I didn't say a word. I didn't have to. For once, I wasn't sitting there trying to defend myself. I was just laying out the truth. Mom's voice cracked as she asked, "You kept records?" "Of everything." I turned to her, calm as could be. "Someone had to, since none of you ever remembered." Jessica stood there shaking, fist clenched tight, her eyes darting around like she was looking for an escape. "This is a violation," she hissed. "You had no right to do this." I stood up slow and steady. "No right? You stood there and told the whole family I wasn't one of you." And they all clapped. Trevor flipped another page. "What's this about Santa Monica?" he asked, his voice like a wire ready to snap. Jessica whipped around to him, panicked. "Don't start." "Who's Kayla?" he pressed. "Why were you at a hotel for 3 nights on my credit card?" She didn't answer. Didn't have to. Her silence said it all. Mom tried to cut in, hands raised like she could put the fire out. "Can't we all just calm down and be reasonable?" she pleaded. "Sure," I said. "Let's be reasonable. Like when you called me a parasite while you were cashing a check I sent you." She blinked, stunned. "That's not fair," she stammered. "We were stressed." "No," I snapped. "You were stressed. And I bailed you out. Every single time. And the one time I said no?" Suddenly I was the villain. Dad, who hadn't said a word the whole time, finally spoke up. "You're making this bigger than it needs to be." I looked him straight in the eye. My voice dropped low. "You let them treat me like this for years. You saw it. You heard it. And you let it slide because it was easier than standing up to them. He didn't deny it. Jessica slammed her hand on the table. You're just bitter no one needs you anymore, she shouted. No, I said, my voice cold as ice. I'm not bitter. I'm done. She let out this nasty little laugh. You're pathetic. Look how dramatic you're being. Bringing a folder? Printing screenshots? You think this makes you some kind of victim? You're just showing everyone you're a control freak. I stepped forward. And you're just proving you only cared about me when I was paying your bills. You don't get to play the martyr, she screamed. You chose to help. You didn't have to. And yet somehow, I said, staring her down, you expected it. Every single time. Until it wasn't help anymore. It was just duty. And when I stopped, you cut me out like I was nothing. My voice cracked, not from sadness, but from sheer anger. You didn't want a brother. You wanted a wallet with legs. Trevor stood up then, folder in hand. Is this true? He asked Jessica, looking right at her. All of this. For once, Jessica didn't have some slick comeback. No fake tears. No shifting the blame. Just silence. You lied to me, Trevor said. About the hotel. About the money. About him. I had to. She exploded. The room fell into a heavy silence. Then my mom leaned in, trying once more, her voice softer this time. Sweetheart, maybe we overreacted, she said gently. But we're still family. Families fight. We can move past this. I cut her off before she could finish. You're not listening, I said firmly. She blinked, confused. What do you mean? I'm not here asking for peace. I'm not asking for forgiveness either. I'm telling you, I'm done. Jessica rolled her eyes and sneered. Oh, please, you've said that before. I met her stare without flinching. Not like this, I said. I slipped my hand into my coat pocket and pulled out another envelope. My dad, looking completely drained, asked, now what? I tossed it onto the table. Trevor snatched it up before it could slide off. He opened it, read a few lines, and his eyes went wide. In a low voice, he asked, what is this? I answered for him. Power of attorney, revoked. Medical proxy revoked. Emergency contact? Gone. I've already signed everything. From now on, legally and emotionally, I'm no longer tied to any of you. My mother gasped. You're cutting us off? Completely. Completely, I said without flinching. Starting right now. Tears welled up in her eyes as she accused me of being selfish. We made mistakes, sure, but we're still your family. I looked her in the eye and said, my voice steady and final, no, you're not. I grabbed my coat, gave them one last look, and walked out, leaving them sitting there in the middle of Thanksgiving dinner, stunned, silent, surrounded by cold food and ugly truths. I didn't turn around. Not because it didn't hurt, it did. But as I closed their door behind me and stepped out into the cold night, something shifted deep inside. For the first time in what felt like forever, I could actually breathe. I didn't head straight home. Instead, I pulled off by the old lake where my dad used to take me fishing as a kid. I just sat there quietly, staring at the still water, feeling something I hadn't felt in years, nothing pulling me down. No guilt, no pressure, no one waiting for a check, a ride, or a favor. Just pure stillness. The next morning, silence. The day after that, still nothing. But by the third day, the calls and messages started rolling in. First, it was my mom. Missed call. Then another. Then a voicemail. You really meant it? We were angry, but we're still family. I didn't answer. Then came the texts. Jessica first. You don't even realize what you've done. Trevor's filing for divorce. Happy now? Something's seriously wrong with you. Then my dad chimed in. You went too far. We all said things we regret, but what you did, that was nuclear. Your mother's a wreck. Fix this. I didn't reply to any of them. And honestly, I thought the guilt would crush me. I thought I'd spend sleepless nights wondering if I had crossed some unforgivable line. But instead, I slept better than I had in years. No more anxiety every time my phone buzzed. No more waiting for some new disaster to clean up. No more late-night Venmo requests disguised as emergencies. For the first time in a decade, I could actually hear myself think. I started waking up early. Went for runs. Brewed coffee slow, just the way I liked it. I finally made the appointments I'd put off forever, dentist, doctor, even a therapist. Not because I was falling apart, but because I was finally free to take care of myself. I updated my emergency contacts, left my parents off the list, changed every password, locked down any joint accounts they could access, blocked Jessica everywhere. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about closure, about finally moving on. About a week after Thanksgiving, a text came in from Megan, my cousin, the one who clapped when they voted me out. I didn't know you paid for my tuition. I'm sorry. I followed the crowd. You were the only one who ever really helped. I didn't respond, but I read it. Twice. Then, out of the blue, Trevor messaged me too. I filed the papers. Everything you said checked out. She cheated. She lied. She manipulated. Not just you, me too. You did the right thing. I should have left sooner. I hadn't expected that, but it hit home. A few days later, I did something wild, something I hadn't done in years. I applied for a job in another city. Not because I was running away, but because I was finally free to go wherever I wanted. No more, you should stay close to home. No more, who's going to take care of them if you leave? I started reaching out to old friends, people I'd lost touch with because I was always stuck handling family drama. The crazy part? Some of them had seen my story on Reddit. They messaged me, not to ask for anything, but just to say, we're proud of you. That was brave. No guilt trips. No manipulation. Just pure, honest support. Someone asked me once, don't you regret it? I thought about it for a second, then said, only that I didn't do it sooner. I thought that was the end of it. And in a way, it was. But with people like that, nothing ever ends neatly. Especially when they finally realize what life looks like without you holding them up. The first few weeks after Thanksgiving were the quietest, most peaceful I'd ever known. No calls. No drama. Just silence. Until Christmas. On December 22nd, I got a message from my mom. It was just a picture of their living room. The stockings were hung, the tree was half decorated, and in the center, there was a huge empty spot where the presents usually go. The caption said, "It doesn't feel the same without you. Haley keeps asking why Uncle isn't coming this year." I stared at it for what felt like ages. No apology. No acknowledgement of anything. Just the same old manipulative tone. Look what you've done. Look who you're hurting. I didn't reply. Then on December 23rd, Jessica called. I let it ring through. Shortly after, she sent a message. I know I messed up, but you don't have to punish everyone. Please, just come by for Haley. She misses you. 2 minutes later, she sent another one. Also, Mom and Dad are behind on their mortgage. I know you don't care anymore, but the bank called today. Thought you might want to know. There it was. The ask. Wrapped in guilt, pretending to be something softer. But it was always the same in the end. A request. I blocked the number. December 24th, another text, this time from Dad. You made your point. We get it. But enough is enough. We need help. We're still your family. That night, I sat alone by the fireplace with a glass of wine. I looked around my tiny apartment. No tree. No noise. Just me and the silence they always said would destroy me. And for the first time ever, I was grateful for that silence. But it didn't stop there. In January, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I picked up without thinking. Is this Brandon? A man asked. Yeah. Who's calling? I replied. My name's Tyler, he said. I'm calling on behalf of your father. He mentioned you're the primary executor of the family trust. I froze. I revoked that role 2 months ago, I said. It was finalized by the family attorney. My name is out of it. The man paused. I see. Your father said he couldn't reach you directly and asked me to explore options. They're in a bit of a bind. Of course they were. Jessica and my parents had run out of options. The bank was closed, the safety net gone. Now, they were trying to get creative. I hung up without saying another word. But the final straw came in February. I got a handwritten envelope in the mail, no return address, but I knew it was from Mom. Inside was a 3-page letter. The first page was full of regret. We said things in anger. You've always been the strong one. We never realized how much we leaned on you. The second page turned to guilt. Your father's health isn't good. Jessica's completely alone now. We're worried about Haley. She's struggling. The third page? That was the hook. We're selling the house, but we're underwater on the mortgage. We just need a little help to get through this. Then we'll never ask again. Please, Brandon, do it for your father. Do it for the family. I sat with the letter for a while, letting myself feel everything they wanted me to feel, the weight of responsibility, the sting of obligation, the urge to fix what was broken. But then, I folded the letter, stood up, and walked to the kitchen. I threw it in the trash. The truth was, they weren't asking for help. They were asking for access. Again, they didn't want me back in the family. They wanted the version of me who didn't say no, the one who silently paid, sacrificed, and suffered. But that version of me? He's gone. I'm not their scapegoat anymore. I'm not their golden goose. I'm not the duct tape holding their broken house together. I'm done. And the scariest part for them? I'm doing just fine without them. I got a new job, moved to a bigger place in a new city, a clean slate. I started volunteering on weekends, not because anyone needed me, but because I wanted to. I built a life where no one calls me at 11 p.m. to cover for their mistakes, where I'm not punished for being independent, where kindness isn't used as leverage. I don't regret helping them, but I do regret how long it took me to stop. You want to know what real peace feels like? It's not being surrounded by family. It's being free from people who only call you family when they need something. Months later, I didn't expect much attention from this post. Honestly, I just needed to say it, to put it somewhere. But I've read every comment. The ones that said, "You're brave, they don't deserve you. Thank you." I didn't realize how much I needed to hear that until I did. To the few who asked, what if they change? Yeah, I've asked myself that too. It's been a few months now. They didn't change. After I cut them off, after the folder, after the screaming, the silence, and the letters, I thought maybe, just maybe, someone would reflect, would say, "We're sorry." They didn't. They went quiet for a while, then got strategic, then desperate, then ugly again. But me? I got free. Since then, I moved to a new place, got a job that doesn't keep me up at night, and started real therapy. The kind where you stop trying to fix everyone else and finally learn how to sit with yourself. I cook for myself now. I sleep better. I go outside more. I don't flinch when my phone buzzes. And yeah, sometimes I think about Haley, what she's being taught, what she'll grow up believing is normal. But I also know this. I was the example of someone who finally said, enough. A few days ago, I got another letter, handwritten from Mom. 3 words. We're still family. No context, no apology, no change, just the same old hook. And for the first time, I didn't feel anything. No anger, no sadness, just nothing. I threw it away and made dinner. So now, I'm back here. This place gave me a kind of clarity I didn't expect. Strangers saw me more clearly than my own blood ever did. So here's what I want to ask. Did I do the right thing? Cutting them off, dropping the weight, saying no, and meaning it. Was I too cold? Or was I finally just done being the only one holding it all together? I don't know. But I do know this. For the first time in my life, I'm not surviving. I'm living.